Alrighty, hello everyone. Paul from Proton NZ here. I'm going to run you through how to set up a Metal blockchain validator node with the help of metalstaking.com. This fantastic guide by Marlon, and we're going to walk through how to create, how to order the server, how to set up your Metal Go validator node, and how to check everything's working. So the first thing you want to do is visit metalstaking.com and then click on this node guides button up here. We're just going to go ahead and start with chapter 1. And this lists our requirements. Here we can see we need a CPU with the equivalent of 8 AWS virtual CPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, enough storage. In terms of the operating system, we're going to go ahead and use the latest Ubuntu, which is I think version 22, but we'll get to that when we get there. Yeah, so I think what we'll do is start with this link here, run a Metal Blockchain VPS node. And we're going to go ahead and click this link to visit Contabo. Now, Contabo is like a hosting company, so you can rent a server or a virtual server off them, and they'll host it for you anywhere in the world, or anywhere of their regions that they support. So if we go back to Metal Guide, metalstaking.com, and we're on this page, run a Metal Blockchain VPS node for $20. You just want to make sure you're clicking this Contabo large VPS pack link, or you can simply visit contabo.com. And up on the top menu here, you want to hit Cloud VPS, Virtual Private Server, and go ahead and select the large. So we've got 8 cores, 30 gigs of RAM, and we'll choose this 800 gig storage. So you can choose whether you're renting the server for 1 month up to 12 months. You can then choose your region. I went ahead and selected United States West for my my server, but you can leave it in Europe if you like. Storage, you want to leave it at 800 gigs. Ubuntu. Now for this one, we want to select version 22.04. For the login and password, now the username is going to be root, and what you need to do is generate a new password here and save it somewhere safe. So whether you're using OnePass or some other password manager, you want to keep it in there. And in terms of networking, you can leave this as no private networking, one IP address, leave the bandwidth as is, and all these add-ons can remain just as they are. So once you've gone ahead and ordered your server and set it up, you're going to receive an email like this with your login data. Your password that you set up earlier, obviously you need to make sure you save that somewhere safe because we're going to need it. So now that we've got our login information for our Contabo server, we want to go ahead and download something called Putty. If you're on Mac, you might need to use something else, but this is a Windows tutorial because I'm on my Windows device, obviously. So you want to download Putty. Now, Putty is a SSH client, and this will allow us to log into our server through the command line. So if you're on Windows, you want to go ahead and grab this installer here. If you're on an x86 system, like an Intel or AMD chipset, you're going to want to go ahead and use that. Download and install it, and then you're going to want to open it, and you're going to see something like this. So in here, in the host name or IP address, we want to grab our IP address that we received from Contabo. This is the address to where our server is located on the web. You just want to paste that into the host name. Now you can save this as something. I'm going to call it, middle Contabo 2, port 22 SSH, and go ahead and save that. And then click open. We're going to get a little security alert here. You can go ahead and accept that. Now we have our login. So we can go ahead and write root and then grab our password that we saved earlier. Now if you're looking to paste this into the form, you can just simply press the right button. You won't see anything happen. If you press right click and then enter, and just like that we're logged in. So just remember, from Putty, you want to enter your IP address, click open. You're going to get a screen, a login screen. You're going to log in with the username root and then the password that you set earlier. Right, we're going to go ahead and cruise back to Marlon's guide. And we're going to scroll down to the end and move on to the next chapter, how to connect to your Metal Blockchain VPS node. Now Marlon was doing this tutorial on his Mac, and we're obviously on Windows, so things are a little bit different. On Mac, Marlon's using Terminus here in order to connect to his server via SSH. We're on Windows, so we're using Putty. So we can move to the next chapter, which is setting up and securing your Metal Blockchain node. Right, this should be a relatively easy process. We're just going to run through these relatively quickly. And it's just going to be a case of copying and pasting, basically. So we can see here, first of all, we want to upgrade all of our applications on the operating system. So make sure it's all up to date. You can actually see here we're on Ubuntu 20. That's fine. So we're going to go ahead and copy this little command here. Sudo means you're going to run it as an admin. apt-get update and apt-get upgrade means it's just going to upgrade all the applications. So we simply right click to paste, and then that'll do its thing. And then we're going to go ahead and copy this next command, and this is going to install htop. This is kind of like a process manager. Once again, copy, right click to paste. That's done. Next thing, we're going to go ahead and add a user. Marlon's put test node here. I'm going to add the user node. So add user node, and this is going to add a new user to the system, and we can choose a password. You can put anything in here that you like. And now we can go ahead and enter some details. So anytime you set up a new user on a computer, you're going to need a name. I'm just going to call this one node. Room number, leave as is. Don't need work phone, home phone, or other. Yes, information's correct. Hold shift and press Y to get a capital Y. Press enter. Fantastic. Now we're going to go ahead and add, what is this? We're going to give our user that we just created admin privileges, essentially. So I'm going to type add user node sudo and press enter. So that's added our node user to the group sudo. Now we're going to configure the SSH, which we're using to connect to the server now. So we're gonna double click this, copy. This basically is opening this file. So Nano is kind of like a notepad type editor in the command line. So you can see we right clicked and we've got this that came up. And we're going to go ahead and change the port number that we're connecting on, which is currently port 22. And we're going to choose something else. So in Marlon's guide here, he has 667, and we're just going to stick to that. So you want to go ahead and come down to this port 22. Bring your cursor down, it's just up and down arrows, and then press delete. So port 22, move the cursor across, delete, and then go ahead and type. Now if you use your numpad on your keyboard, it might not work, so just use the normal number keys above the standard letters. So we're going to type 6677. And next we're also going to disable root login. So this is a security feature or security thing just to lock down our server even further to prevent hacking. So we want to continue to scroll down this list just using the down arrow key. Until we get to permit root login. And we're going to go ahead and change this to no. Now in order to save the setting, we simply use Control X to exit. So on your keyboard, hold Control key, then press X. Now it's going to ask if you want to save the file. So what you need to do is press Y essentially. Just press Y and then press Enter. Done. And if you have any issues or you messed up, just remember that you can press the up arrow here. You can open the file again and you can go down and see if you made the correct changes. And once again, to exit the file, Control X, and that'll take you back. Alright, so we're working our way through this fantastic tutorial that Marlon created here. The next thing that we need to do is essentially restart SSH, which is the service we just modified in the config file. So I'm going to go ahead, right click, paste that. Now we're going to go ahead and check the status of SSH so that we've restarted it. And you can see here that it's active and running, which is awesome. Alright, next thing we're going to do is cancel out of this screen that we've got here. So you can go Control C. And that'll take us back to the standard terminal entry screen. If you ever mess up or you find yourself lost or confused in this shell environment, just go Control C and that'll sort of reset the terminal. Alright, so let's go ahead and install the universal firewall. So sudo apt install UFW. Just like that, that's done. Now we're going to deny incoming connections. Cool. And we're going to allow outgoing connections. Paste that in. Now we're going to allow connections on port 80. Port 80 is the default port used to send and receive unencrypted web pages. So let's paste that in. That's basically saying admin, admin privileges, firewall, allow port 80. We're going to go ahead and do the same for 443, which is HTTPS. And now we're going to go and open up port 9650, which is used by Middle Node software. 9651, which is also used by Middle Node software. 1122, which is used to open and maintain connections. Port 3000 is for the monitoring software. Same with this one, 1990. Now we need to allow, obviously, 667, because that's how we're going to connect with our terminal. We changed that setting in the config a little bit earlier. Now, finally, we're going to enable the firewall. Now, if you didn't set your port 667 or the SSH port, set that to allow, we're going to be locked out at this point. So let's go ahead and make sure that we've enabled 667, and we're going to proceed. Fantastic. Now we're going to check if we enabled the firewall correctly, so that's going to give us some status information. There's all of our ports that we allowed. You can see allow from anywhere, and now we're going to go ahead and exit. Alright, so now we're going to open Putty back up. We're going to find our IP address, load it. Now in here, remember we changed the port from port 22 to port 667. So let's go ahead and update that and save. And then we can open that connection again, and we're going to get another one of these security alerts, accept, and we can log in with our brand new user. So if we try and log in with root, we're probably going to have a problem. Let's just check that. Yeah. So Control C to close the window again. We're going to load up our Putty, open it again, and this time we're going to use our brand new username that we created just before. Enter our password, and boom, we're in. Now we're logged in as the user node, and we're going to go ahead and do a reboot. So we're going to type sudo reboot and enter the password that we set for this user, and you can see we have a error, remote site unexpectedly closed the network connection, which is a good thing. So we can close our Putty software again, go ahead and open it one more time, and you'll probably find that because the server is rebooting, see, there's no connection just yet. So while we wait for that, we're going to go ahead and move to the next chapter, which is installing the Metal Node software. Alright, so now we've got our server has come back up and we can log in. So go ahead and log in with our brand new user that we created, and we're good to go. Alright. In this next chapter, we're going to be installing the Metal Go software, which is the software that runs our Validator node. So first of all, we need to go ahead and download the install script, and this is going to make it super easy for us. Download command is here. We're also going to chmod 775, which basically updates the permissions for the file, and then we're going to run this install script. Now what you can actually do is copy everything here, copy, and we want to see what directory we're in, so we can type ls. There's nothing in that directory, so we're going to right click and paste. Right, now we're going to get a couple of questions. So we've downloaded the installer has started, and now a couple of questions have been asked. So we're going to need to decide, are we on a residential network with a dynamic IP or a cloud provider? Now, because we've set up our server in a data center with a static IP that we were given earlier, this one here, we're going to go ahead and type 2 because we've got a static IP, and press enter. So it's detected the IP address ending in .128, which is in fact correct. So we're going to type Y and press enter. Do you want your node can accept RPC calls on port 9650. If restricted to local, it will be accessible only from this machine. So what we can do is just go local for now, type local, press enter, and then it's going to ask us for our username, password for the node user. Fantastic. Now we can move to the post installation. So we've installed everything. we can see that the script has in fact finished. Created the symbolic link, just like that. Now we can go to the post installation setup. So now we want to check that MetalGo is essentially running in the background. So the script has installed the MetalGo software, and now we're just going to check the status. Alright, and as we can see here, MetalGo service, system service. So what's this say here? Loaded something. So I'll press Control C again. I'll press that, type that command in. There we go. Okay, so the service is running now. You can see with this green active running, we know we're good to go. And now we can go down to this. Now that the node has finished bootstrapping, or maybe it is, the node is currently bootstrapping. So let's monitor the progress. So we can go ahead and copy this code that Marlon gave us here. Over on our Putty window, we want to go Control C just to cancel that. Paste that in. Fail to connect. Right. Maybe the bootstrapping has been completed. So we'll try this second command here. Paste that in. Failed to connect. So I don't know what this means. We will be right back. Alright, we're back. So a small error which I made at the start of this process was not selecting Ubuntu 22. So when you do set up your server, go ahead and select VPS, and when you select your server, do make sure that you've selected Ubuntu 22.04, because with the latest update of NeedleNode, there are some missing files or packages with Ubuntu 20. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade our Ubuntu 22 or Ubuntu 20 to version 22. Now, if you're already on 22, you can probably skip this step, but we need to do it in order to proceed. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear what's in my terminal. I'm just going to type clear. So we've got a nice fresh terminal. And I'm going to type sudo apt update, and it's going to get a list of available updates. Sudo apt upgrade is the next command. It's going to upgrade any of those packages just to make sure we're on the latest version of everything. And you can probably pause it here if it takes a little bit too long, but we are done. So the next thing we want to do is sudo apt distribution, but we're going to just type dist upgrade, and hopefully this is going to upgrade any files. So we want to remove sudo apt auto remove any packages that are no longer required. Now we want to sudo apt install update manager core. Now we can go sudo do -release -upgrade. And this is going to check for a new Ubuntu release. It's going to ask if we want to continue. If you continue, an additional SSH daemon will be started at port 1022. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just cancel that for a moment. Now, if you remember, we had our UFW allow command, so that was basically to allow to open a port. So we're going to want to go ahead and open up port. I think it said 1022. So sudo UFW allow 1022. I spelled allow wrong, so we'll put 2 L's there. Awesome. Now we're going to press the up arrow a couple of times and do this command again. Sudo release upgrade. Now it said an additional SSH daemon will be started at port 1022. We just allowed that, so that should work just fine now. Y enter. We can go ahead and press enter here. Alright, we can go ahead and press Y to continue. Alright, and we're going to go and type Y for yes. And we're going to let this do its thing, and I'll be back with you once it's finished. Alrighty, there are services installed on your system which need to be restarted. So we're going to go ahead and just press the arrow across to yes and hit enter. Alright, we're back and we have been given a question. Do we want to keep our current version, or the default action is to keep the current version, so we'll just leave that default and press enter. Okay, what we want to do is we want to keep the current version of SSH config, simply because it's got all of our configuration information, and if that gets wiped, then we may not be able to access our server. So let's just tell it to keep everything as is. Alright, so now it's going to ask if we want to remove obsolete packages. So we can just go ahead and press Y for yes. And press enter, of course. And that'll do its thing. Alright, to finish the upgrade, we need to restart. So we type Y. And of course, the remote site has closed the connection because the computer has restarted. So let's go ahead and open up our Putty configuration, load our server, click open, and we just want to wait for that to come back online. And we can continue with our post installation. Actually, what I think we'll do is go back to the start of this guide just where we started with the wget section, which was downloading the installer. Okay, so our servers come back online. I'm going to log in with our node user that we set up earlier. Fantastic, we are in. And we can see up here that we are now on Ubuntu 22.04. Alright, so we're going to copy our wget command and run the installer again. Paste it in with the right click, press enter. It's going to ask us for our node user password. And boom. So it looks like we didn't get any errors that time. Fantastic. So we can scroll down and double click and copy on the status command. Paste that in, press enter, and there we have it. Active and running. Fantastic. Alright, let's move on and continue the tutorial where we left off. So let's copy this. You can actually press Q here to exit that little middle go services command and paste in our curl, press enter, and you can see is bootstrapped true. Fantastic. So we can continue on with the tutorial. Let's copy this next one and we're going to get hopefully our node ID. So you can see here, if you look closely, after our first command, which was somewhere around here, you can see we get a node ID. So this one here is ours. So this is the first result. Oh no, this is it here. Node ID. So you can go ahead and copy that, and you want to put it somewhere safe. So you can save that on, I guess your notepad. Node ID 2. Fantastic. Alright, now we can move along to the next tutorial, or the next chapter in Marlon's fantastic metal staking tutorial, and that is backing up your node. So we've created our node and we've got our node ID. Now we want to back that up, because what happens if something happens to our server and we need to launch our middle node again with the same node ID. So we will go through that in just a second. So what we need to do is grab the file, essentially. So there are two files on our server, and we can find those actually by typing cd for change directory .metalgo, and then we can type ls, and we can see the various folders inside our metalgo folder, and we want to change directory to staking. So that's cd. You can type stak and then press tab, and then ls again, and in there we can see our signer key, our staker key, and our staker certificate. So we want to back those up. There are a number of ways you can do that. I'm going to show you one easy way rather than purely command line. So I'm going to download something called FileZilla, and you can go ahead and download that, install it on your Windows machine. You can use this download here, and then we're going to get a application that looks like this. So we'll make that a little bit smaller and bring that over here. So what we want to do is go ahead and enter the login details that we used for our server, and you can go ahead and press this button up here and create a new site. We're going to call this Contabo Metalgo 2, and in here we're going to change the protocol from FTP to SSH, which is the same protocol we use to connect over here. So we need to get the IP address, paste that in the host. Now remember, we are using port 6677. Login type is normal, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ask for password. So it's going to ask us for our password every time we log in with this user. I'm going to go OK. Drop down here and just next to this little server icon and go connect. Now it's going to ask us for our password. And just like that, we have logged in with a file manager to our server. So that's going to drop us into our node or our home directory with our username node. And we could go ahead and move down to the middle Go folder. You can see staking here. And there are our staker key, certificate, and signer key. Now it is as easy as creating a directory on your computer. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and right click, create directory, and call this one middle go 2. I'm going to go ahead and double click that directory. So on the left side, we've got our local side, which is our computer we're on now, and the remote side is obviously our middle go server. So I'm going to select those files, right click, download. Up my node ID and all the important information about my validator node so that I can restore it if anything happens. And of course, it's the same process, but in reverse. If you want to update your node or restore your node, you just simply right click and upload and overwrite the staker keys that are in there. But just make sure if you've got multiple nodes, be careful not to overwrite your keys. Okay, I think that is pretty much it for the start of the tutorial. We have set up the middle go software. We've backed up our keys. Now we can move on to the next tutorial. So we're ready to stake as a validator, and this part is relatively easy, but we will go through that in a moment. Alright, and we're back. We're going to continue on with the tutorial. This next part is going to be how to stake as a validator. So we're going to take our metal, we're going to commit our metal to the validator, and then others can delegate to our middle node. So let's go down, and the first thing we need to do is jump on over to our middle wallet. So the web address is wallet.middleblockchain.org. You want to make sure you're logged in, and then we need to get some metal, in my case metal from my Proton account from Proton Dex. I want to withdraw it. I'll just silence my phone. I want to withdraw it over to the middle C chain. So I want to grab my C chain web address, wallet address rather, and of course you got X chain, P chain, and contract is the EVM wallet address. We're going to copy that from our wallet, go to our Proton Dex bridge, withdraw metal under the C chain, paste our C chain address in there, and in my case I'm just going to withdraw the max amount. I'll make it even a 50k actually, and then you've got the fee of 0.005 metal, which is next to nothing. You know, you compare that to the Ethereum fee of 42 metal, so yeah, things are much cheaper and more efficient on the metal C chain. So let's hit withdraw. Of course, we're going to go ahead and sign our transaction. Awesome. And we can see our transaction here on Proton scan. And when this pending irreversibility gets to 0, it should pop up in our Metal wallet. While we're waiting for that, let's go over to Marlon's Metal staking tutorial guide, and we'll continue down the list. So we want to go to the Earn tab. Now the Earn tab in our Metal wallet is where we do our staking. So we want to be a validator. Now you can see here it's saying you must have at least 2,000 metal on the P chain to become a validator. 2,000 metal is the minimum amount. We're going to do a little bit more this time. Last time, with my first node, I delegated 2,000, or I set to validate 2,000 metal for 1 year. And unfortunately, what that means is that the max amount of metal that could be delegated to my node is 10,000 in total, or 8,000 from delegators. 10,000 including the initial 2,000 that I set to validate. And unfortunately, you can't update your stake as a validator until your staking period has ended. So this time I'm going to create a node with a few more metal. 50,000 this time I think I'll do. And that will, and I'll do the staking for 3 months. Then that means that after 3 months time, if I want to increase, the amount of metal that I've set to my validator node, I might want to increase that to 100,000 and then do another 3 months. That gives me some flexibility. Rather than committing just 2,000 metal for the year, it means that as a validator, I'm not going to see the same returns as someone with, say, 50,000 metal staking on their validator node. So we can see here over on Proton, of course we're leaving the Proton network, so naturally it's going to take a little bit longer. But I think you'll find once this thing ends, we should be able to click refresh up here. Maybe one more time. Third time lucky. I'm sure it'll be there in a minute. So what we will do is right. So if we look at this earn metal by staking your existing tokens, and it says here we must have 2,000 metal on the P chain. Now of course, oh, there's our metal. Boom. Now of course we've got if we go to our portfolio, you can see we've got 50,000 metal sitting here, but it's on the C chain. We need that metal over on the P chain so that we can delegate it as a stake. So let's go to our cross-chain tab over here. We'll just minimize that, get that out of the way. And we want to send tokens across to the P chain. So we're going to go source chain from C, destination chain P, and I'm just going to type in here 50,000 metal. Oh, looks like there's a fee, so I'm going to have to do, we'll do this, 49,999. How about that? And we hit transfer. And just like that, our metal is, or has, moved across to the P chain. There we go. Alright, I'm a little bit OCD, so I actually wanted to stake a nice round number of 50,000 metal to my node, so I bridged a few more over from Proton, and I'm going to send them from the C chain to the P chain again. Just send 10 this time. Great. Now let's move over to the Earn tab, and we're going to stake our middle to our validator node. So now that the button is no longer grayed out, we can click Add Validator. And then we want to grab our node ID that we received from it setting up our node on our server. We want to go ahead and paste that in there. And we can choose our staking end date. Now, I want to do 3 months. So we're going to go from, what is it now? So we've got the whole of February, whole of March, the whole of April. Sweet. April 30th, 2023. And stake amount. Well, I'm going to put my nice round number of 50,000 metal. Staking duration, 91 days. 1 hour, 30 minutes. Estimated rewards. Now, delegation fee. This is the... you'll claim this as a percentage of the rewards from delegators on your node. So, different nodes will have different delegation fees. This will probably vary depending on the amount of demand for nodes and how full they are. So I'm going to go ahead and leave mine at 2. That's sort of like the popular number for the community nodes. The highest I've seen is 20%, but they kind of vary from 2 to 5 in the community nodes at least. So for the reward address, I'm going to use this wallet. Yeah, that looks good. So over here we can see the max delegation amount. So this is the max amount of metal that can be delegated to our node. If I stake, for example, 100,000, max delegation amount would be 400,000. But in this case, I'm just doing my 50k, and you can see the max amount would be 200. So yeah, we're good to go. Let's hit confirm. Make sure we've got the right node ID. All the details are correct. Got the reward addresses coming back into this wallet. And I'm going to submit. And just like that, we've committed our stake. And we're away. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you found this helpful. Once again, huge shout out to Marlon for providing this awesome guide. I would suggest you go to metalstaking.com to go into a bit more detail about everything we sort of did during this tutorial. I kind of just did this as a start to finish experience to show how to do it if you just want to follow along to a video. So yeah, shout out to Marlon for all that. Shout out to Glenn for his incredible work on Metal Blockchain. And I'll see you guys soon.